You'll understand, Mom. It's just easier this way. That's what my daughter said when the wedding coordinator pointed me toward a folding chair in the hallway. The air smelled like disinfectant and dying lilies. Through the glass doors, I could see chandeliers glittering. Inside, Lisa laughed with her new in-laws, her white dress catching the light. Outside, I stood alone, gripping the gift I'd wrapped the night before. I smoothed my blue dress, the one she once called my lucky color, and chose silence. No argument, no tears. 5 minutes after I drove away, the ballroom screen lit up and a scream tore through the reception. Here's what happened next. The Riverside Estate was the kind of venue that whispered money in every detail. Stone archways draped in white roses, a ballroom overlooking manicured lawns, valets in pressed uniforms, the kind of wedding where even the air felt expensive. I'd driven 3 hours from the city, rehearsing what I'd say when I saw Lisa. Simple words I'd been holding on to for weeks. You look beautiful. I'm so proud of you. But her last text kept replaying, please, Mom, just don't make things awkward today. That was all I'd been to her lately. A warning label. Don't embarrass me. Don't mention how we used to live. I'd become something to manage, not someone to celebrate. Growing up, it was just the two of us. Her father died when she was 3. I worked double shifts at the hospital, wore scrubs that smelled like antiseptic even after washing. I missed school plays because I was changing bedpans. Every sacrifice had a reason, so Lisa could have better. And she did. Full scholarship, marketing firm job. Then Ethan, polished, charming, from a family with vacation houses and country club memberships. Everything I'd wanted for her. But somewhere along the way, better started to mean without me. I remembered the first dinner with Ethan's family. His mother, Victoria, smiled over her wine and said, "You raised her so well, Serena, considering everything." The words were kind. The tone wasn't. Considering you're a nurse, considering you're alone, considering you're not us. Lisa laughed it off. She always did when it came to them. The coordinator met me in the lobby, clipboard in hand. Name? Serena Walker. Her smile faltered. She scanned the list twice. I'm sorry, I don't see you on the main seating chart. I laughed. I'm the bride's mother. I'm sure it's just... Oh, her expression shifted to pity. You're listed for hallway seating. Hallway seating? I repeated. She nodded. Just outside the ballroom. You'll still be able to see everything through the doors. I waited for her to correct herself. She didn't. Past the grand entrance, past the glittering ballroom doors, was a service hallway with flickering lights. Against the wall near the kitchen entrance sat a single folding chair. Metal. Wobbly. Through the glass doors, I could see the ballroom in full bloom. Crystal chandeliers, cream linens, orchids, and Lisa, radiant and white, surrounded by bridesmaids. I set my gift bag on the folding chair. From here, I could see everything. But I was outside looking in. Waiters hurried past with trays, barely glancing my way. They moved around me like I was furniture. I sat down. The chair creaked. For years, I'd told myself love didn't need recognition. But sitting there, in a hallway that smelled like bleach, I realized what I'd become. Disposable. I heard heels clicking. Lisa walked toward me, bouquet in hand. For a second, my heart lifted. She's coming to get me. She stopped just outside the hallway. Mom, she said quietly. I stood. Sweetheart, I think there's been confusion with the seating. There's no confusion. Her voice was soft but final. You'll understand, Mom. It's just easier this way. The
air left my lungs. Victoria thought it might be better if you weren't front and center. You know how traditional they are. She gestured vaguely at me, at the space between us. It's just for a few hours. You're still here.
I stared at her, this woman I'd rocked to sleep, whose college essays I'd edited at 2 a.m. after 12-hour shifts. She was asking me to understand why I didn't deserve a seat at her wedding. "Lisa," I said carefully, "I'm your mother." "I know, but this day isn't about us. It's about me and Ethan, and his family." She looked down at her bouquet. "They're important, Mom." The word she didn't say hung between us. "You're not." Something cracked inside me, quietly, like ice giving way. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay?" "Yes, you're right. This is your day." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you. I knew you'd understand." She turned and walked back toward the ballroom. I watched her step back into the light, into the life she'd built without me. I thought about the flash drive inside the velvet box. Emails, bank statements, legal documents, proof of everything Ethan had hidden from Lisa. The failing business, the fraudulent accounts opened in her name, the debts he planned to bury her under. 2 weeks ago, I'd confronted him. He'd smirked and said, "No one's going to believe a bitter single mom, Serena." He was right about one thing. Lisa wouldn't believe me if I told her. But she'd believe the evidence. I walked to the gift table near the ballroom entrance. The coordinator was distracted. I set the velvet box carefully among the other gifts. The tag read, "To Lisa and Ethan, with love." I didn't look back. I just walked toward the exit, my heels clicking softly, my heart strangely light. Outside, the autumn air was cool and clean. I got in my car, started the engine, and exhaled. Through the rearview mirror, I could see the venue glowing. I whispered, "Let the truth find its way." Then I drove. Inside the ballroom, the music swelled. Ethan's father stood near the gift table, champagne in hand. He noticed the small velvet box, elegant, different from the others. "What's this one?" he asked. A bridesmaid shrugged. "Not sure. Looks fancy, though." He picked it up, reading the tag aloud. "To Lisa and Ethan, with love." He smiled. "Let's open this one for good luck." The music stopped. The highway blurred past my window, streetlights painting streaks of gold across the dashboard. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind kept drifting back. Not to the wedding I'd just left, but to the years before, when Lisa still called me her hero. She was 3 when David died, a heart attack at 32, sudden and cruel, leaving us with a mortgage I couldn't afford, and medical bills that arrived in envelopes I dreaded opening. I remember her standing in the doorway of our apartment in her princess pajamas, asking when Daddy was coming home. I told her he'd gone to be a star. She looked for him in the sky every night for months. After that, it was just us. Me in scrubs that smelled like hospital corridors no matter how many times I washed them. In her in hand-me-down dresses from the church donation box. I worked double shifts, picked up overtime on holidays, said yes to every extra hour they'd give me. When other mothers were at dance recitals, I was changing bedpans. When they were baking cookies for school fundraisers, I was restocking medication carts at 2 a.m. But I made sure she never missed a school trip, never had an empty lunchbox, never felt less than the other kids, even when we were. She used to wait for me at the door after my shifts, small arms wrapping around my waist, telling me about her day in one breathless, run-on sentence. She'd draw pictures of us, stick figures holding hands under a crayon sun, and tape them to the fridge. "You and me forever, Mommy." I believed her. College changed everything. The scholarship was a miracle, a full ride to a school I couldn't have afforded in a lifetime of overtime. I cried when the acceptance letter arrived. She did too. We held each other in our tiny kitchen and laughed about how far we'd come. But the school was 3 hours away, in a part of the state where people had vacation homes and summer houses, where last names opened doors and connections mattered more than hard work. Lisa fit in faster than I expected. Her roommate's family invited her to the Hamptons for spring break. A sorority picked her up sophomore year. By junior year, she'd stopped mentioning where she came from.
I noticed it during Parents' Weekend, the way she introduced me as Serena instead of my mom, the way she steered me away from her friends' parents, claiming she had to show me the library, the cafeteria, anywhere that wasn't the quad where everyone gathered. When her roommate's mother asked what I did, Lisa answered before I could. "She works in healthcare," she said quickly. Not, "she's a nurse," not, "she saved lives while raising me alone." Just a vague phrase that could mean anything. That was the first time I felt like something to hide. Then came Ethan. I met him during her senior year, the week before graduation. Tall, polished, with a smile that belonged in a cologne ad and a handshake that felt rehearsed. He wore a watch that cost more than my monthly rent. His parents arrived in a car I didn't recognize the brand of, his mother in pearls and his father in a blazer that looked soft enough to sleep in. Lisa glowed around them, laughed at their jokes, mirrored their gestures, used words I'd never heard her say. Delightful, exquisite, how gauche. She was becoming someone I didn't recognize. The dinner was at an Italian place downtown, white tablecloths and candles and glass holders. Ethan's mother, Victoria, ordered for the table without asking what anyone wanted. His father talked about their summer home in Vermont, their timeshare in Aspen, their little boat. Victoria turned to me halfway through the second course, wine glass tilted just so. "You raised her so well, Serena," she said, her smile thin and sharp, considering everything. The table went quiet for half a beat. Considering everything hung in the air like smoke. Considering you're alone, considering you're working class, considering you don't belong here. I smiled and said, "Thank you." Lisa didn't defend me. She just laughed lightly and changed the subject. That night, in the hotel room I'd booked at a budget chain off the highway, I stared at the water-stained ceiling and realized something I'd been avoiding for months. I wasn't family anymore. I was an inconvenience, a rough draft she was trying to erase. The rehearsal dinner was held at a private club I'd never heard of, the kind with a waiting list and a dress code printed on cream cardstock. I wore the nicest dress I owned, navy blue, bought on sale 3 years ago, and felt underdressed the moment I walked in. Round tables were arranged under chandeliers that looked like frozen waterfalls. The in-laws had taken over the center table, champagne flutes raised, laughter echoing off marble walls. I found my seat at a table near the kitchen doors, next to a distant cousin of Ethan's who spent the entire evening on his phone. When the toasts began, Victoria stood first, her pearls catching the light. "To family," she said, her voice warm and practiced. "The ones who've been with us from the beginning, who understand what it means to belong." Her eyes swept the room. They didn't land on me. Everyone raised their glasses. I lifted mine too. The weight of it suddenly unbearable. Lisa sat beside Ethan, glowing in a rehearsal dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She smiled at Victoria's words, nodded along, laughed when everyone else did. She didn't look my way once. Later, I tried to help. The coordinator was overwhelmed, juggling seating charts and vendor calls. I offered to handle the place cards, fold programs, anything. Lisa intercepted me in the hallway, her smile tight. "Mom, you don't have to do that." "I want to help, sweetheart. It's your wedding." The wedding planner has it covered. Her tone was polite but final. "Just enjoy yourself." Behind her, I heard Victoria's voice drift from the main room. "Does she understand fine dining? I mean, bless her heart, but this isn't exactly Applebee's." Laughter followed. Lisa's cheeks flushed, but she didn't turn around. She didn't defend me. She just touched my arm lightly and said, "I should get back." 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a text. "Please, Mom, just don't make things awkward at the wedding." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Not, "I love you," not, "I'm so glad you're coming," just a warning, a request to make myself smaller, quieter, less visible. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my apartment, rehearsing what I'd say when I saw her. Something kind. Something a mother says. "You look beautiful. I'm proud of you. I love you."
But the morning of the wedding, when the coordinator led me to that folding chair in the hallway, the words died in my throat. When Lisa walked by, bouquet in hand, and said, "It's just better this way, Mom. You'll still see everything through the window," something inside me went still. Not broken, just clear. She'd chosen appearances over love, image over truth, them over me. I looked at her perfect makeup, her designer dress, the life she'd built on a foundation of forgetting where she came from. And I realized she didn't need to see me anymore. She needed to see the truth. That's when I stopped hoping she'd see me and decided she'd see the truth instead. 3 weeks before the wedding, my phone rang at 7 a.m. Unknown number. "Mrs. Walker?" A woman's voice, professional and cautious. "This is Jennifer from First National Bank. I'm calling about a joint business account opened under your daughter's name." I sat up in bed, pulse quickening. "I'm sorry, what account?" "The commercial line of credit. Lisa Walker and Ethan Hayes. Opened 2 months ago. We're calling because there's been unusual activity, several large cash withdrawals and a missed payment." My stomach dropped. Lisa doesn't have a business. Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "I suggest you speak with her, Mrs. Walker." I tried calling Lisa, voicemail. I texted, no response. So I did what any mother would do. I started digging. Bank statements forwarded by a sympathetic clerk, social media posts from Ethan's failed construction company, a trail of invoices marked pending and overdue, email threads I found through Lisa's old laptop, still logged into her account from Christmas. And there it was, written in corporate language that tried to hide the ugly truth. Ethan had used Lisa's credit, her name, her signature, forged on half the documents, to secure loans for a business already drowning in debt. The plan was simple: marry her, consolidate, then file bankruptcy in her name after the wedding, walk away clean while she drowned. One email stood out, sent from Ethan to his business partner. "Don't worry, once we're married, it's all joint liability. She won't know until it's too late, and even if she figures it out, who's she going to believe? Me or her bitter, controlling mother?" I read it 3 times. My hands shook. I called him. He answered on the second ring, voice smooth. "Serena, what a surprise." "I know what you're doing." Pause, then a low chuckle. "Do you? The loans, the accounts in her name, the bankruptcy plan." "That's a serious accusation." "It's the truth." His tone shifted, colder now. "And who's going to believe you? A bitter single mom who can't let go? Lisa knows you're jealous. She'll think you're sabotaging her happiness. I have proof.
Good luck with that. He hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone, rage and heartbreak warring inside me. That night, I saved everything. Screenshots, bank records, emails, legal documents. I copied it all onto a flash drive, placed it inside a small velvet box, and tied it with a cream ribbon. The tag read, "To Lisa and Ethan, with love." It wasn't revenge. It was protection. If truth was a gift, I'd make sure my daughter opened it herself. I sat in that hallway for 20 minutes, watching through the glass as my daughter's wedding unfolded without me. The laughter inside sounded muffled, like I was underwater. Champagne glasses clinked, camera flashes painted everything gold. Lisa spun on the dance floor, her veil trailing behind her like something out of a fairy tale. Victoria stood beside her, adjusting the train, whispering something that made Lisa throw her head back and laugh. They looked perfect, a mother and daughter, just not the right ones.
I remembered another version of Lisa. 7 years old, barefoot in our tiny backyard, chasing fireflies in a jar. Her hair wild and tangled, grass stains on her knees, shrieking with joy every time she caught one. She'd run to me, breathless, and hold up the jar like a trophy. "Look, Mommy, I caught 100. There were 3. "You're the best mom ever," she'd say, crawling into my lap, smelling like summer and sweat and innocence. I'd believed her. The memory collided with the present, this woman in white who couldn't bear to seat me in the same room, who chose a hallway over honoring the woman who raised her. A server pushed through the service door, balancing a tray of empty glasses. He bumped my chair, nearly knocking the gift bag off my lap. "Oh, sorry." He paused, frowning. "Miss, are you lost?" I looked up at him. Young, kind eyes, probably working his way through college like I once worked my way through everything. I smiled faintly. "No, I'm exactly where they put me." His confusion deepened, but he nodded and hurried past. I looked down at the velvet box resting on my lap. Small, elegant, deceptively light, but suddenly it felt heavier than it had all day. Heavier than the years of sacrifice, heavier than the silence I'd swallowed every time Lisa pretended I didn't exist. Inside that box was the truth, the kind that couldn't be ignored or explained away, the kind that would shatter the illusion she'd built. I thought about leaving it in my bag, driving home, letting her learn the hard way months from now when the debt collectors came knocking. But I didn't raise her to be a fool. I raised her to be strong, even if she'd forgotten that. I stood up slowly, smoothing my blue dress, my reflection caught in the glass, still composed, still graceful. If they didn't want me inside, fine, but I wouldn't leave empty-handed. The gift table sat just inside the ballroom entrance, draped in ivory linen and surrounded by elegantly wrapped boxes. Silver, gold, pristine white bowls that probably cost more than my weekly grocery bill. I walked toward it slowly, the velvet box tucked in my hand. My heels clicked softly on the marble floor, but the sound was swallowed by the music, a string quartet playing something classical and forgettable. The wedding planner rushed past me, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing frantically at a waiter about the dessert course. No one looked my way. I was invisible here. I always had been. I set the velvet box carefully among the others. It was smaller than most, simpler. The cream ribbon I'd tied that morning caught the light. The tag dangled from the bow, my handwriting, neat and deliberate. To Lisa and Ethan, with love. I straightened it once, twice, making sure it would be seen. Through the glass doors, I could see Lisa at the center of the dance floor, spinning in Ethan's arms,
Her face glowed with happiness I didn't put there. Victoria watched from the side, champagne in hand, nodding approvingly like a director admiring her scene. Lisa threw her head back and laughed at something Ethan whispered. The sound didn't reach me, but I could imagine it. Bright, carefree, unburdened by the truth. I stood there for a moment longer, committing the image to memory. Not because I'd miss it, but because I wanted to remember what she looked like before everything changed. Then I turned and walked away. No tears, no confrontation, no dramatic speech about sacrifice or betrayal. Just quiet grace. The evening air hit me as I stepped outside, cool, clean, the kind of air that feels like freedom. I walked to my car, got in, and sat with my hands on the steering wheel. Through the rearview mirror, I could see the venue glowing. Music drifted faintly through the open doors, laughter, celebration, a perfect wedding. For now. I exhaled slowly and whispered to the empty car, "Let the truth find its way." Then I started the engine and drove.
Inside the ballroom, Ethan's father stood near the gift table, champagne glass in hand. He noticed the small velvet box, elegant, different from the oversized packages surrounding it. "What's this one?" he asked, picking it up. A bridesmaid leaned over. "Not sure. Looks expensive, though." He read the tag aloud, smiling. "To Lisa and Ethan, with love." He turned to the photographer. "Let's open this one, for good luck." The photographer raised his camera. The ribbon fell away. Then the music stopped. Ethan's father lifted the flash drive from the velvet box, frowning. "What's this?" "Maybe it's photos?" someone suggested. The DJ had a laptop connected to the projection screen for the slideshow. Ethan's father, already 3 glasses deep and feeling generous, waved him over. "Let's see what we've got here. Probably baby pictures or something sweet." The screen flickered to life. The first image appeared, a bank statement. Lisa's name at the top. A credit line of $200,000. Outstanding balance, $187,000. The chatter dimmed. "What is this?" Victoria asked, stepping closer. The next slide. An email from Ethan to someone named Marcus. "Don't worry about the loans. Once we're married, it's joint liability. She won't know until after the honeymoon. By then, it's too late to back out." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Turn it off," Ethan said sharply, his face draining of color. But Ethan's father kept clicking. More emails, forged signatures, invoices marked overdue, a bankruptcy filing draft with Lisa's name listed as primary debtor. The ballroom erupted in whispers. Phones came out. Someone said, "Oh my God." Lisa stood frozen at the center of the dance floor, her bouquet slipping from her hands. What is this?" Ethan lunged for the laptop. "This is fake. Someone's trying to sabotage us." "It has your email address," his father said coldly, pointing at the screen. "It's photoshopped. Someone hacked." "These are legal documents, Ethan." Victoria's voice cut through the room like ice. "With your signature." A bridesmaid near the gift table picked up the note that had fallen from the box. She read it aloud, her voice shaking. "The truth is its own gift. Protect yourself, my girl." Lisa's face crumbled. "Who sent this?" "Her mother," someone whispered. "Serena," Victoria said slowly, the name heavy with realization. Ethan's face twisted with rage. "That bitter, jealous, she's trying to ruin this because she can't stand that Lisa's happy." "Happy?" Ethan's father turned on him. "You are going to bankrupt her." "It's not what it looks like." "Then what is it?" Lisa's voice broke. She stared at him, mascara beginning to streak. "Ethan, tell me this isn't real." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating.
Victoria set down her champagne glass with a sharp click. This wedding is over. Ethan's father stormed toward the exit, guests parting like a wave. Lisa stood alone in her white gown, trembling as her perfect day collapsed around her. For once, the silence wasn't mine. It was theirs. I woke to sunlight streaming through thin motel curtains, the kind that never quite block out the morning. The room smelled like old coffee and pine. Outside, the lake stretched, calm and silver, untouched by wind.
I'd driven 2 hours after leaving the wedding, pulled off at the first place with a vacancy sign. A small lakeside motel with peeling paint and a vending machine that hummed through the night. It was perfect. My phone sat on the nightstand, silent. I turned off notifications before I went to sleep. Now I reached for it slowly, almost afraid of what I'd find. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, and a news notification. Local wedding ends in fraud scandal. Anonymous tip saves bride. I opened the article. Photos of the venue. A vague description of financial documents and alleged forgery. Ethan's company named, Lisa's name carefully omitted to protect her privacy. No mention of me. No name, no credit. Just peace. I set the phone down and made coffee in the tiny pot by the sink. It tasted bitter and weak, but I sipped it anyway, watching sunlight ripple across the water. My phone buzzed. A text from Lisa. "Mom, I'm sorry. You were right. Thank you." I stared at the words, read them twice, 3 times. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed, "Love you. Take care of yourself." Then I deleted it. Too much. Too soon. She needed space to sit with the truth, to understand what love actually looked like when it wasn't wrapped in approval or applause. I typed again, simpler this time. "Love you." I hit send, then turned off my phone, finished my coffee, and packed my small overnight bag. The lake called to me through the window, quiet, vast, indifferent to human drama. I got in my car, rolled down the window, and let the morning air fill my lungs. As I pulled onto the highway, I thought about that folding chair, the hallway, the glass doors between us. At my daughter's wedding, I was seated in the hallway. Today, I'm sitting by the window. Same quiet, different peace. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved to protect yourself? Or maybe you've been the one who finally saw the truth after it was almost too late. Share your story in the comments below. Sometimes we all need to know we're not alone. If this story moved you, please subscribe for more true stories about family, resilience, and finding peace when love gets complicated.